So I've got a novation deal that we closed on a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to show you step by step how we got it, what we did with it, what the total profit was, just a whole case study breakdown. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up guys? Graylan Stewart here again. Thanks for joining me. I'm a real estate investor, entrepreneur. We do wholesaling real estate mostly, but today's video is about a novation deal. So this is an actual case study of one of our deals that we actually closed on just a couple of weeks ago in 2022, January 2nd, I believe. But this is just going to be a breakdown of how we got the deal, what we had to do during the deal, how much we sold it for, what the total profit was, and all the things in between. So let's just get into it. All right, first, let's just break down the numbers, okay? So we got this deal. Well, first of all, the ARV is about $110,000, okay? So right off, that gives us a baseline, okay? That's the most important part of any deal that you do, whether it's novations, wholesaling, creative finance, whatever you're doing, ARV is your most important thing, okay? So after we get the ARV, obviously, we have to know the condition of the home. So it needed, basically, it needed updates and new carpet for sure. Otherwise, the house is in really good shape, okay? So just knowing that, we automatically know that when we sell this deal, let me bring my calculator out to kind of give you a better understanding of what this really is. Okay, so let's just say it's $110,000. Now we're going to multiply. Now typical wholesale, we would multiply by 0.8 or 0.75 or 0.7, somewhere in that ballpark, right? But on novations, we kind of do our analysis like this. We do times 0.9. And that gives us $99,000. That's just a guesstimate on kind of what it will take to sell the deal. We take the 10% out because 10%, if you consider 6% as fees, right? You're paying commission fees, 6%, because we're paying typically the buyer and the seller a lot of times. But oftentimes we only pay the buyer's commission. So because we typically sell these ourselves since we have an in-house realtor, or we'll do a flat fee listing, one or the other, okay? But let's just say 99 is our base because $110,000, we take off 6%, and then that other 4% is for closing cost, any minor repairs that might need to be taken care of, okay? Because keep in mind, when we're doing novations, we pay for everything. So it's kind of a hybrid. It's between a wholesale and a retail deal. So novation deal, we actually take off 10% because we're paying for everything at the end, right? So 99 kind of gives us an idea, like, okay, after all fees, maybe we can end up with $99K. So I'm just going to write that down just to kind of give you an idea. And sometimes it's a lot better than that, honestly, because keep in mind on novation deals, we typically want better looking properties. They're not completely distressed hoarder houses, things like that. These are nicer properties that maybe need a little updating or minor repairs done, okay? So if we know 99 is kind of where we could maybe end up after all fees, now we want to make money, okay? So here it is. We ended up getting this deal for $85,000, okay? So theoretically, if you take 99,000 and subtract the 85, if all pans out correctly, we stand to make $14,000 profit on this deal, okay? So, now that you understand kind of where that is, we ended up selling this property on the MLS. Keep in mind, we are listing these properties on the MLS for the whole world to see these, okay? So we ended up contracting it for $102,000. Now, we did a flat fee listing, so we don't have to pay the full 6%, okay? But there are, we did kind of give them some credits because it did need new carpet. Now, keep in mind, these are retail buyers now. They typically can't overlook the details. Like investor buyers, they can overlook a hoarder house and see the potential in it, but a retail buyer, using conventional financing, typically can't overlook that. Or if they can, they want it fixed. Okay, so they did want new carpet. They wanted some other payment towards some of the updates and things like that. So when all said and done, we contracted for $102,000. Our fees ended up being, after everything, $41.17. Okay, so if you do the math on that, we got it for $102,000. Take out $41.17, and we contracted the property for $85,000. Now on a novation deal, the seller never had to sign contracts for these. Once we had the novation agreement in place and the attorney effect agreement in place and the purchase agreement in place, they never had to sign anything else. We were signing all the MLS contracts on their behalf. Okay, that's what attorney effect is. It's like a power of attorney, but only over that property. Okay, so after the fees and everything, as you can see, that ends up. Let's just do the math on that. 102. Subtract out that 41.17. That gives us 97,883 minus 85,000. Okay, so we ended up with a $12,883 net profit. Okay, now that's after all fees and everything. Obviously, our team gets paid out of this fee right here. Okay, so acquisitions gets their cut, TC gets paid, Dispo gets their cut, and then the company makes the rest. Okay, so but a $12,883 net profit on a deal we would have never ever done. Because keep in mind, if the ARV is $110,000 and it needs, by the time you do the updates and carpet and things like that, it needs at least $10,000, guys. And materials and labor and everything else is going up and up and up, right? So technically, the value of this house as is technically about $100K max. Okay, so that's not considering any fees, profits, or anything like that. So if you consider that this property in as is condition is probably worth $85,000 to $90,000, you can see that paying $85,000 would never ever work out with the wholesale deal. Okay, because on a wholesale deal, an investor wants to be all in at 75%. So this would never work out at that. So if we did get the property, let's just say it's 110 ARV, right? Well, you can't see my calculator anymore. Let me put it over here. So 110 times 0.75 is how we would normally do a wholesale transaction. Now it needs $10,000 in repairs, and we want to make no less than $10,000. So a normal wholesale deal, we would have had to get this property for about $62,000 to make any money at all. But as you can see, the power of novations allowed us to get this contract at $85,000. And we actually made more than that $10,000. We made $12,883, so almost a $13K profit on what normally would have been a dead deal that we would have thrown in the trash. Literally, we could do nothing with it. Okay, and on top of that, it's a condo. Cash buyers typically don't like condos or things like that because there's HOAs involved, and usually the HOA eats up any profit that there could have been cash flow wise. So hopefully that makes sense on the numbers. So we'll dive into some of the pictures so you can kind of get a better view of what those pictures look like on this property so you can get a better idea. All right, guys. So here is the actual property, okay? So as you can see, it's really dated. It's in decent shape, but definitely needs a good $10,000 when you consider the tile is super old school. All the carpet needs to be replaced. The appliances are really old. Let's just click through this so you can get a better feel for it. Just needs updates. Looks like it was probably last updated in the 80s, potentially. But it's a nice overall property. It's got a little bar area, which is kind of cool. But see that old, ugly wallpaper? Nobody likes that. But yeah, just little things like that just need addressed. So a cash buyer, sees dollar signs when they look at something like this. But a retail buyer oftentimes will walk away. I mean, these are actual pictures that we had on the MLS. So we try to have the best pictures possible. But, sometimes it is what it is. And, that's just how it was. because the seller was still living there. So we were scheduling, showings and stuff. But the old school refrigerator, 80s stove, microwave, the same, all that ugly wallpaper, the old school, maple wood grain cabinets and stuff, nice little pantry. But yeah, it just needs upgrading. You can see that tile is like super 80s, late 70s, maybe 80s. That's one of the bedrooms completely packed with junk. So really even hard for a conventional buyer to see that. Now the bathroom looks pretty nice and presentable, but again, needs some updating, but overall in decent condition. Ugly wallpaper. But really, if you did everything, ripped out all the wallpaper, updated, just painting the cabinets and updated appliances and changing out the tile and new carpet and all that, it's probably closer to $15,000 these days, just because of the way prices are right now. So that's the main bedroom that she stays in. It's 2 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms, which is always nice. But as you can see, super dated, needs a lot of, just updating more than anything, paint, flooring, and new appliances. And that's really it. So 10 to 15 grand, definitely. This deal would have never ever worked for wholesale. We would have ran away from it, not just walked away from it. Not only is it a condo that no cash buyers hardly ever want unless you buy it super cheap, just because the HOA fee at this property was like $230 per month. So that eats up any potential cash flow that you might have had. So there's the outside of the whole place, pretty nice. Got a pool. Of course, it was covered because it is winter. But yeah, we ended up getting this deal on October 18th. Okay. And then we ended up closing January 2nd. So let me explain how all that went down. So as I was saying, we got the deal on October 18th, which seems like a while ago because we didn't close till January 2nd. But we actually got an MLS buyer contracted on December 17th. So we always lock up novation deals and mostly all deals for 90 days. And our contract states that that's 90 business days. So actually from contract to close, it took us 55 business days, and that's on an MLS deal, so a novation deal. So it was fairly fast, but yeah, that's the thing on novations. It has to be a decent looking property. The seller has to be willing to work with us with showings. They completely know what's listed on the MLS. We just handle everything, and then they have to be flexible in their time. They're not in a super hurry, and they typically are just stuck on a price. Like this lady, flat wouldn't budge from $85,000, even though we needed to be closer to $60 probably to make the deal work. But we made $85 work. They were a little bit more patient, so they got more money. We made money on a deal that otherwise would have been dead, so almost $13,000 from turning a dead lead into cashola. So hopefully that video was beneficial to you. It was a real case study that we did in my business. Like I said, we typically do wholesaling. That's our main strategy, but why not do novations? Add that to your tool belt, because that's literally a property that we would have wasted. We got that in from a radio lead, and we typically would have just thrown it away if we couldn't do anything with it price-wise. But now that we have novations, it actually brought us $13,000 extra to start our 2022 year off with a bang. So that was our first closing of the year on January 2nd. So hopefully that was beneficial. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to see y'all in the next video.